Okay, here we are, another week in. I'm in Mexico still. It tends to be pretty tricky to get a spot to do these videos while I'm down here. Just no place that's really like quiet and private. Everywhere I go is like a certain amount of noise or people, interruptions and stuff. And I generally feel a little bit stupid standing in front of a fucking camera. So I'm pretty self-conscious about that whole thing. So you kind of get me walking around town here. It's a nice town of Tulum. So this week was fairly interesting. I'm trying to remember everything that went on. So like, I felt like I got a couple of things worked out a little bit. Like my stomach like feels a bit better. Yeah, that's better. Stomach feels a bit better. I just started like eating like a shitload of, not a shitload, but like a bunch of lettuce every day. And that actually seems to have made a difference. Just eating a bunch of lettuce, like buying a head of lettuce, eating like half of it one day and half of it the next day. So that type of thing, like, that's kind of nice. That's squared up. And then I did this comedy show last night. I don't even know if I mentioned in my videos, but I did a comedy show where I did, like, I was the only, I proposed to the guy at the hostel that I would do comedy one night. And, I could have gone up there as long as I wanted. So I had this, like, hour set that I think I've probably talked about from last year in the summer at the Oregon Country Fair when there was a disaster. So I finally got to do that set unrestrained. And obviously it's evolved since then. But I got to do, like, my hour. And so I got to do an hour. And I never got to do an hour before. And the other thing that I did is on Monday, I went to this ecstatic dance event. So I did, like, these kind of things that... So I did an ecstatic dance thing, which is like really tough for me to like go to something and dance. It's the first time I ever really did that. And I had fun. Like when I was there, like I was like, I just want to fucking leave. And we got there, I was like not comfortable with it. But I like forced myself through the discomfort. And by the end of it, I actually enjoyed it. You know, it was a bunch of strangers and people I never met before. So that was helpful. People I'd never see again. But that was cool. And I plan on going again this Monday. So that was cool. I had wanted to do that while I was down here, and like I did it. And then I had wanted to like do a comedy show at this hostel, and I did it. And then I also did these like Kriya yoga thing I've been doing once a day, every day, this breathing stuff. I did it a little bit differently this week and had like a pretty seriously different experience with it. So when I've been doing it, you sit cross-legged and you do these like particular breathing exercises, and I would find like it was relaxing or intense, it was like interesting, but I didn't like transcend into another realm or anything. But this week I did a particular part of the breathing differently, and I think the way it was supposed to be done actually. And wow, So I often describe that after I'm done with it, my legs, because I can't sit cross-legged comfortably, they feel like pins and needles, and like they're hard to walk on for a few minutes, and they're like super numb and kind of uncomfortable. And I just figured like doing more yoga and stretching, eventually that discomfort in my legs would go away, and as they would talk about, allow this energy or whatever to flow throughout my body, or whether it's just oxygen from like hyperventilating, getting to the rest of your body, or maybe I'm cutting off circulation somewhere, who knows? Whether you want to call it energy, or talk about like delivery of particular, oxygen, carbon dioxide throughout the body. Fine. I feel like there's like the scientific terms, there's Eastern terms and Western terms that are really describing the same phenomenons with different vocabularies. So anyways, I did it differently and like felt like this experience where it was not just like my legs, like all through like my arms and specifically my hands. It was almost like I'd stuck my toe in an electrical socket. And it stayed and lasted like throughout the experience, and it was almost like, I wouldn't call it numbing, but it was like a very electrical kind of feeling, almost like a pins and needles. So it was like pretty cool. And in my mind, I was like, holy shit! Like if this was to feel this way over my entire body, that would be creepy. And I almost felt in a way like, oh my god, if I keep doing this, I might just disappear. So I could see like where they're getting at with these feelings. Now, is this real? Is it just some mental thing of like tricking yourself into thinking that you're going through an experience when really you're just hyperventilating yourself? I'm not really sure. But it was interesting, like it happened the day after I went to that dance thing. So I also then wondered, is this just, what happens maybe I stretch, because I find like doing the dance thing, you stretch all these different parts of your body out. It almost felt like active stretching. The dancing, like just like, felt like stretching. So I was like, oh, maybe this is just a one-time thing that I'm experiencing, this feeling in my hands and everything, because I did this dancing yesterday, but it's happened each day since. And today I tried to do like the way I had been doing it before, which I think was incorrect. There's a particular part of the breathing where you're supposed to do like these deep, deep breaths, and I had been doing them very shallow. So anyways, out of respect for the practice, I try not to actually divulge the details of how it all works. I think that whole like secret handshake stuff is kind of bullshit, but at the same time, if the stuff actually works, then I should kind of honor and respect the somewhat secrecy they have around, respect they have for like allowing a person who's trained in it to teach it. It seems somewhat respectful. So then I did this comedy thing, and like I was doing a full hour, and like I was nervous, like I was really nervous about doing it, but not that nervous because I kept laughing. I was like, well, I did this dancing thing, and that was way more nerve-wracking. I said, like I almost bailed, like all along the way, I kept like almost bailing, and then doing this comedy thing, I was like, well, I'd already prepared this material last summer, so I believe in it to some extent. And I was willing to perform it at the fucking country fair. Like, certainly I could perform it at the hostel here. And so, I tried to think of, like, advice that I gave somebody. I worked at a summer camp, and this person who was, like, one of my advisees was a teenager that was giving a speech at the end and was worried about public speak. And I said, listen, you're going to worry that it's going to go horrible. It's not. You're going to want it to go perfectly. It's not. It's going to go pretty damn good, and accept that that's the reality, and then stop the worrying and enjoy the experience so that it doesn't happen and then it's almost like you blacked out during the whole thing. Like, accept it, embrace it, like enjoy it, take it in a little bit. And so I tried to use that advice for myself doing this comedy thing, and it was pretty able to, and like I got laughs, like there was a lot of steady laughter. But I found like towards, I didn't know exactly how long I was up there for. Well, I checked obviously afterwards, I recorded it, but so then towards the end, all of a sudden, like there was a drop in the energy of the room, and I knew that the closing material was all about school, and I was like, it was an international audience, so like some of the stuff just wasn't relatable, like some of the stuff about, it's like slightly political, there's some reference that people from outside the U.S. don't get, and there's some like play on words thing that people don't necessarily get, and I was like, oh, now I'm going to talk about school, which is material like kind of designed for teenagers, and like all these people are older than that. So I did at the end cut the set short. So I ended up doing 55. I looked later at the clock. It was 55 minutes. If I had done all the material, it probably would have been an hour and 10, maybe an hour and 15. So like reality, like was it perfect? No, though I didn't really have much issue memorizing things. Like I did pretty good with that. I felt like I sold everything, and I oversold it. Like I was into it, and I did good there. I didn't treat it like an open mic where I was kind of weak or feeble or testing things out. Like I really did sell the jokes. Some got laughs, some didn't. Yeah, there were some parts of the room that I realized they went the entire thing without laughing. There were some people that were laughing at everything. You could see some people just smiling, really into it, not necessarily laughing, but just like really enjoying it. And so it was cool. And I did have some people like heckling me, sort of, thinking they were helping, like, and that was fucking annoying, and I wanted to bash them. But it's also like a hostel. There's a community setting where people are all friendly, and I'm gonna like hang out with these people later. But anyways, it felt good to do that and to like get it under my belt and say, okay, now I've done a show where there was no opener, there was no mid-card, there was no nothing. It was just me, and I did it, and it was about an hour. Like, it could easily have dragged a little longer, and I've wanted this year to like do shows like that in libraries for teens, and I even talked to some of I got a couple of friends that were at the show, and they're like, dude, you could totally do this with teens. So like felt like this week was pretty good. All these things, I did the dancing, I had that breathwork thing, did the comedy, work stuff was pretty well, and I might do this sweat lodge ceremony tomorrow. So this is a pretty good week. Pretty good week. As far as like the waking up thing, still having issues with it. I don't know. I've been wondering if is it like because I'm eating, do I eat like too late at night so that in the morning My blood sugar is off or something. I've wondered, just am I not getting restful sleep? I've wondered, is it some sort of depression? Is it taking medication? I'm still on medication, still on 50 milligrams of Seroquel at night. So I'm not sure. But, that's 10 minutes, way more than enough for this week. But there's a lot of cool stuff this week. Later.